Howdy folks. On this video we are going to be doing a review of the Mustang Alpha. It's one of the cheapest starter ships and cheapest ships in general you can get in the game, and I think personally it is definitely one of the absolute best values in the entire verse. It flies similar to a true fighter. It's got respectable firepower right out of the gate. It's got decent HP, and kind of like the Aurora MR, which is its price companion, at $45 for the starting pack, $30 for the standalone ship. And this is a little more expensive in game. It's 251,400 Alpha UEC to purchase in game, but it has that flexibility similar to the Aurora. There's a few differences, and we'll get to those in a bit. Before we get any further, let's talk about the stock components, what it ships with when you are just getting it for the first time. Right up front, you'll notice it's got two big old laser cannons, two size 2 laser cannons. It's got 41 rounds. I think it's 41 rounds in the magazines. It doesn't fire as fast as laser repeaters, but it does hit a little harder with each round. Personally, I do normally switch those out pretty quick for repeaters. That's totally just a personal preference thing. Another set of guns can be mounted on the wings. It's got an extra hard point on each side. Those are also size 2 mounts, so you can run a size 1 gun on a gimbal, or you can run a size 2 gun that's hard mounted. I would try a little bit of both. Size 2 weapons are still pretty inexpensive, so try it with the size 2 guns. If you're having trouble hitting targets, switch it back to the gimbals. I mean, the DPS difference is there, but it's not significant enough that targets that this ship should be able to take out are really going to be that affected by it. You just might have to fight it a little bit longer. This does not have any missiles. And I know you're looking at that wing just like I did when I got this for the first time, and you're like, man, why not? Because there's an extra hard point, it seems. That is purely cosmetic at the moment. And what's even more, a little bit more frustrating, is when you go into the vehicle loadout manager, you'll see a spot where it clearly states missile rack, and you can't put anything on it. But that is what it is. Allegedly, from what I've read, they're going to be introducing dummy rocket pods. They shoot live rockets, but they're not tracking rockets. They're just straight traditional rockets, kind of like we had in the Revolutionary War. But aside from the guns, it's got all size 1 components. All of them but the quantum drive are grade D, which is the lowest tier. But it's got 1 power unit, 2 shield units, 2 coolers, and then 1 quantum drive. The neat thing about the shield, it having 2 shield units though, is that you can drop in 2 FR66s and you've got a pretty substantial amount of shielding for a small ship. The actual hard stats on the ship, it's got a little more HP, hull HP compared to the Aurora. This has 8,431 hull HP points. The shielding stock is a little bit less. It's 2,700. The DPS is a big bump from the Aurora. Keep in mind these are all just stock numbers, but the DPS on there is 554. That's almost 1.5 times the DPS of an Aurora. Where it really separates from the Aurora and most of the other actual starter ships is its SCM speed is 191. It's not the highest, but you can fly this thing over SCM speed a bit and not really suffer that much of maneuverability penalty. The max speed's a little lower than the Aurora. The maximum speed in this is 1,160 meters a second. But the acceleration on this, the lateral agility, the vertical agility on this compared to the Aurora is a night and day difference. Let's see. Of all the starters, we're going to talk about some pros now. Of all the starters, this is the purest fighter. It's still not really a pure fighter, but if you're going to compare it to any of the other starters, it is absolutely the purest fighter of the bunch. It's the most responsive. It's the most maneuverable of all the starter ships. It's got great SCM maneuverability. It's got decent firepower stock, and actually pretty good firepower when it's fully upgraded. Here at the rear is a cargo pod, so you can run cargo. It can carry 4 SCU of cargo in this internal pod. You can also use that to carry delivery boxes, and if you want to do the waste disposal boxes or research assistant boxes, they'll all go in there. Small caveat: if you're carrying boxes that aren't SCU containers, load it in there, take off, turn around and double check and look back and make sure it didn't fall out randomly. It does fall out sometimes. I've only had it happen once, and I've ran probably 10 or 15 box missions with a Mustang Alpha. Another thing that this is purely just opinion based. I think it's a great looking ship. I really do. I love that kind of Raptor central body of the ship. I love the folding wings. And then another thing is it's inexpensive. It's one of the cheapest ships in the game, and it can do a lot. And it's very flexible. Some cons, because you can't have the good without the bad. While yes, this nose turret is great, and it's in a great position for hitting targets, NPC targets' favorite tactic, in my experience, is to ram you, and if they ram you at the front, that turret's going to get knocked off. That little nose gimbal is going to get knocked off, and if you don't have wing guns, you're not going to have any way to fight. You're going to have to bail. It doesn't happen every time, but if you get hit, if you get rammed in the front, or if you ram a target in the front, you're going to lose those guns. Another big, and probably the single biggest negative of this ship over all the other starters, because the only one that has this problem, is there is no actual internal space. Once you get in the cockpit, that is your entire area. There's nowhere else to go. There's no room in here. There's no bed. None of that. The stock shields they're not awful, but it's important to remember they're only 83% as strong as the Aurora. So if you really rely on your shields to tank damage, you need to practice with it a bit, or you need to upgrade them, or you're going to run into problems. And then another negative is there's no missiles. No missiles at all. You can't put them on. But we didn't come here for that. What we're going to do real quick, I want to show you guys that you can run box missions, and you can run bounties. Of all the starter ships, this is the easiest one to actually rank up in bounties with. It's the easiest. You're going to be able to go the furthest with an average skill set. using that versus any of the other starter ships, just because it's really well balanced as far as its ability to take damage and its ability to dish damage out. Also, that maneuverability. I mean, it's probably, of all the starter ships, it's definitely my second favorite, which is pretty high praise, because my favorite starter ship is like my second favorite ship in the entire game. But you know, I struggled to write cons out, like actual cons for the Mustang Alpha, because you have to balance everything with price, and for what you're spending to get this ship, either real money or in-game cash, there's nothing else close. It's a little less maneuverable than a Gladius or an Arrow, but it's comparable to a Gladius in terms of toughness. It's comparable to an Arrow in terms of maneuverability. Do both of those ships end up winning out? Absolutely. But both those ships also cost a lot more, either in-game or real-world cash. I dropped the box. I do this every now and then. Apologies, folks. Alright, let me back out. I'm a doofus. But yeah, I mean, there's so many things that this ship can do, and for $45 or $30 if you're getting it as a standalone, you really can't go wrong. We're gonna walk it in here, and I found that if I place it, it's not gonna let me do it now. There we go. If I place it, it doesn't seem to fall out. Alright, so it went up with it. Now keep in mind, we're going to lift off, we're going to turn around, we're going to peek back at the ground, make sure our box didn't fall out.
Engine systems enabled. Launch complete.
No, it didn't. Fantastic. Let's check our contracts. I've picked up a bounty and a that's on Walla. That's on there. We're gonna go kill this guy first. So you can see that acceleration. I mean, this is even, it's thin atmosphere on Lyria, but it's still like it just jumps. It jumps. I should include, while it doesn't have a major atmospheric penalty, there is a small one.
Quantum
It's not like an Arrow where,
gear retracted.
you know, an Arrow flies the same in atmosphere or out of atmosphere. The Arrow is, for maneuverability, unmatched. But this does fly pretty well in atmosphere. Like there's not a huge negative to it like some of the other ships. The Aurora specifically, for some reason, that thing gets in atmosphere and it flies like a brick. There's not a actual statistic for it, but I like to call it pointing. That is how you know, when I go to turn this ship, how does it respond? And the pointing ability of this ship is just amazing. And the reason that that's a kind of soft stat that I want to keep in mind for myself is that I like to take gimbals off. I prefer to run bigger guns, and knowing that I'm going to have an easier time keeping those guns on target. If you've got a ship that points really well, that's a big deal for me. We're coming in on our target.
Contact.
There we go. So one of the benefits of laser cannons is you get a little bit further range over laser repeaters, but you can see that. Two ships on us. see the limitations of the cannon though, because of that slower rate of fire on these really nimble ships. You're gonna have a tough time.
Damn it!
Target has been destroyed. Shield hit.
Damn it! Damn it!
There we go.
Target has been destroyed.
Alright, both targets down. Now if you're fighting larger ships like a Cutlass Black, the cannon can actually be a little bit more helpful because it's a much bigger target, so your odds of missing are just a little bit less. I probably should have just turned the gimbals off, but too late now. And either way, not a terrible little fight. Got the job done. We're gonna go drop this package off, and that'll be it for this review. Like I said, guys, I love this ship. For the price, you know, if I were gonna choose between an Aurora
Quantum
or a
travel
Mustang,
engaged.
I pledged Aurora initially, and then I actually I bought a standalone Mustang Alpha. It was $30, and it gave me an actual fighter. I mean, bounty hunting is not my primary game loop, as you can probably tell by watching me fly just now. I do enjoy it, but I also, you know, me and my org mates, we run quite a bit of industrial stuff, so having a cheap
Quantum travel
decent
complete.
fighter that I can use to protect when we're running convoys and things like that, it helps. So even if you don't want to pledge this, if you want to pledge the Aurora or something else and then get
Quantum
this to
travel
use as a fighter, or even just because it's got a really short claim time, which 319 dropped just yesterday, and the claim times on ships is significantly longer. I mean, it's around 3 minutes for the Aurora and the Mustang. I haven't even looked at my other ships yet. I'm kind of scared to, because
Quantum
oh man,
travel
I don't want to
complete.
know what it's going to be on my C2 or my Taurus. But yeah, great little ship, super flexible. Let me know what you think. You know, like and subscribe if you like what I'm doing. Leave me a comment if you've got any suggestions, or if I misspoke and any of my information was incorrect. I love the growth. I appreciate all the time you guys take when y'all watch these videos. I appreciate when you guys leave comments. You know, if you don't like what I'm doing, that's fine too. To each their own. Do me a favor though. Take 10 seconds, hit that comment, and tell me what you didn't like, because I want to make content that works for my viewers. I want to make stuff that is helping you guys. It's putting out good information, and that's a little entertaining. I mean, I've been working on these guides and ship reviews, although to be honest, 318 put a real big dent in my video schedule, because I couldn't get in game to record anything for you guys for almost a month. It seems to be fixed lately,
Engaged.
but yeah, folks, if you like what I'm doing, hit that like and subscribe button. as always, I appreciate your time. I had a blast shooting these videos. I always do. I love this game.
Landing
That was a
complete.
terrible landing.
Launch complete. Engine systems disabled.
But yeah. Thank you for your time, and hopefully I'll see you guys out there in the verse.